Have you ever stopped, looked around at the people in your life, and noticed just how many relationships and marriages are quietly falling apart? Friends divorcing after only a few years, couples who seemed perfect together suddenly calling it quits, family members cycling through one broken relationship after another. It is happening everywhere, and chances are you have felt the weight of it yourself at some point. Now, love has not disappeared. People still fall deeply, beautifully in love every single day. But something has fundamentally shifted in the way we approach relationships compared to the generations before us. Our grandparents built marriages that lasted decades through wars, poverty, and unimaginable hardship. Yet today, with more comfort, more freedom, and more resources than ever before, relationships seem more fragile than ever. So what exactly has changed? That is the question we are going to unpack together in this video, and the answers might genuinely surprise you. Now, before we dive into the reasons behind all of this, let us take a moment to look at just how widespread this problem really is. In the United States, roughly 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce. In the United Kingdom, that number sits close to 42%. Sweden and Belgium have seen rates climb even higher, sometimes exceeding 55%. But it is not just Western nations. Across Asia, Latin America, and Africa, divorce rates have been steadily climbing over the past 3 decades, and these are just the official numbers. They do not account for the millions of couples who separate without ever legally marrying, or those who stay together but are completely emotionally disconnected. We are talking about a pattern that is showing up on every continent, in every culture, and across every income level. This is not just your neighbor's problem or your cousin's situation. This is a global crisis, and it deserves a real, honest conversation. So what exactly is pulling modern relationships apart? Throughout this video, we are going to break it down into 4 key factors that keep showing up again and again when we examine why couples today struggle to stay together. Those 4 factors are money, lack of communication, submissiveness, and globalization. Each one of these plays a powerful and distinct role in shaping how we love, how we fight, and ultimately how we either stay together or fall apart. And here is what makes this conversation truly fascinating. When we look back at our grandparents and the generations before us, we start to see some striking differences in how they handled these very same challenges. By the time we finish walking through each of these factors together, you will have a much clearer picture of why modern relationships are struggling and what older generations understood about love that many of us seem to have forgotten. Let us get into it. Now, let us talk about the first major factor, and that is money. Financial pressure has become one of the leading causes of tension in modern relationships, and it goes far deeper than simply not having enough. Today, couples face an entirely different financial landscape compared to previous generations. When 2 people come together now, they often arrive with student loan debt, credit card balances, and completely different spending habits. Financial inequality between partners creates silent resentment that slowly poisons the relationship from within. But beyond debt and income gaps, there is something even more dangerous at play, and that is materialism. We live in a culture that constantly tells us we need more, bigger, and better. A relationship is now expected to provide a certain lifestyle. People enter partnerships with financial checklists that our grandparents never carried. Love was once enough to begin a life together. Today, love often has to come with a credit score, a salary expectation, and a 5-year financial plan attached. Now, layered on top of financial pressure is something worth examining more closely. The rise of financial independence, particularly among women, has genuinely been one of the most empowering shifts in modern history. Women earning their own income, building careers, and standing on their own 2 feet is absolutely something to celebrate. But here is where it gets complicated inside relationships. When both partners are financially independent, something subtle can shift. Instead of building together, some couples start operating more like two separate individuals sharing a space. Compromise begins to feel optional. Decisions become power negotiations rather than partnership conversations. Phrases like "my money" and "your money" replace the idea of "our future." Financial independence, when not paired with emotional maturity and genuine teamwork, can quietly breed competition within a relationship. And competition between partners slowly erodes the very foundation that love needs to grow. Independence is powerful, but partnership requires something more. Now here is where things get truly ironic. We live in the most connected era in human history. You can send a message to someone on the other side of the world within seconds. You can video call, voice note, tweet, post, and react to someone's life in real time. And yet, despite all of this, couples today are communicating less meaningfully than ever before. Think about that for a moment. Partners sit in the same room, on the same couch, under the same roof, and they are both staring at separate screens. Texting friends, scrolling through strangers' lives on social media, watching short videos, doing everything except actually talking to each other. Meaningful face-to-face conversation, the kind where you look someone in the eyes and truly share what is on your heart, has quietly been replaced by emojis, memes, and one-word replies. And relationships are silently suffering because of it. Beyond just avoiding phones, the real communication crisis runs much deeper. Modern couples struggle to express vulnerability, to say, "I am hurting" or "I am scared," without fear of judgment or weakness. When conflicts arise, many people either explode with emotion or completely shut down, neither of which actually resolves anything. Truly listening, not just waiting for your turn to speak, has become a rare skill in relationships today. Compare this to older generations. Without television constantly running, without smartphones buzzing every few minutes, couples were forced to sit across from each other and talk things through directly. There was no escape into a screen when conversations got uncomfortable. They had to develop emotional endurance, the ability to stay in a difficult conversation until something was actually resolved. That discomfort they pushed through built deeper understanding and stronger bonds between partners over time. Now let us talk about the third factor, and this one tends to spark the most debate: submissiveness. The word itself makes many people uncomfortable today, and honestly, that reaction tells us a lot. Submissiveness in relationships has existed across virtually every culture throughout history, but its meaning has dramatically shifted over time. Previous generations understood submissiveness as a functional division of roles, where each partner contributed differently but equally to the partnership. Today, the word is often associated with control, oppression, or weakness. Modern relationships are built on the foundation of equality, which is genuinely a beautiful and necessary evolution. However, the tension arises when equality is misunderstood as sameness, meaning both partners must do everything identically. The real conversation is not about one person dominating the other. It is about two people consciously agreeing on a healthy balance of roles that honors both their individual strengths and their shared goals together. So when we remove traditional roles without replacing them with clear new agreements, what actually happens? Confusion. And that confusion quietly destroys relationships from the inside out. Many modern couples are stuck in this uncomfortable middle ground where neither partner knows who is responsible for what. Who handles the finances? Who manages the household? Who takes the emotional lead during a crisis? Without answers, resentment builds. Now our grandparents had clearly defined roles. Yes, some of those roles were rigid and not always fair. But here is what those roles provided that we often overlook: structure. Both partners knew their lane. They knew their responsibilities. That clarity reduced a certain category of conflict entirely. Today, couples want equality, which is absolutely valid and necessary. But equality without clearly defined agreements creates chaos. The goal should not be to return to outdated roles, but to intentionally create new ones that both partners genuinely agree upon together. Now, here is a factor that most people never even consider when talking about why relationships fail, and that is globalization. In the context of relationships, globalization refers to how the internet, social media, and global media have exposed us to countless different cultures, lifestyles, and relationship models from around the world. Decades ago, most people only knew the relationship styles within their own community or culture. That was their reference point. But today, someone in a small town in Nigeria can scroll through their phone and see how couples live in Japan, Sweden, or the United States. This constant exposure to different ways of loving, partnering, and living together has caused many people to question their own relationships more than ever before. Suddenly, what once felt normal begins to feel insufficient. What once felt like enough begins to feel like settling. And that quiet questioning can slowly erode even a solid relationship from the inside out. Globalization has not just connected the world economically, it has flooded our minds with endless comparisons. Social media platforms serve as daily highlight reels where couples post their most perfect moments, exotic vacations, grand gestures, and flawless smiles. Nobody posts their arguments, their financial struggles, or their lonely nights. Yet we consume these curated images and unconsciously measure our own relationships against them. This creates what many psychologists call the grass is greener syndrome. People begin feeling that something better is always just one swipe away. Dating apps reinforce this by literally turning human connection into a browsing experience where options feel unlimited. The result is a generation that struggles to commit fully because commitment feels like closing a door on something potentially better. Patience erodes, effort decreases. When relationships hit their inevitable rough patches, instead of working through them, many people simply move on, searching for that perfect picture they saw online. So what exactly did our grandparents do differently? The answer lies in the values they carried into their marriages. Commitment was not just a word to them, it was a daily decision. Patience was practiced even when things got unbearable. Sacrifice was expected, not resented. And community played a huge role because couples were surrounded by family, neighbors, and faith communities that held them accountable and offered support during hard times. Now here is something important to understand. Their marriages were not perfect. There were arguments, disappointments, financial struggles, and emotional pain, just like today. But the fundamental difference was their mindset. Walking away was rarely the first option. Working through problems was. They did not expect marriage to always feel good. They understood that love was also a choice made on the difficult days, not just the easy ones. That shift in mindset made all the difference. Beyond commitment and patience, our grandparents practiced specific habits that quietly held their marriages together. They prioritized the relationship over personal ego, meaning when conflict arose, the goal was resolution, not winning. They were not too proud to seek counsel from elders, pastors, or trusted community members when things got hard. There was wisdom in knowing you did not have to figure everything out alone. They also kept relationship matters private. Disagreements were not broadcasted on social media or discussed with every friend. What happened between husband and wife stayed between them, protecting the dignity of the partnership. Perhaps most powerfully, they viewed marriage as a lifelong covenant, not a contract. A contract gets cancelled when conditions are not met. A covenant says we push through regardless. That mindset alone changed how they responded to difficulty. Instead of planning an exit, they planned a solution. That distinction made all the difference. So here we are, having walked through money, communication, submissiveness, and globalization. Each of these forces is quietly reshaping the way people love each other today. Take a moment and honestly ask yourself, which of these factors might be showing up in your own relationship or the relationships around you? The answers might surprise you. Here is the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Modern relationships are not doomed. They are simply being tested in ways previous generations never experienced. But the solution is not to abandon progress or return to outdated traditions blindly. The real power lies in blending the timeless wisdom of our grandparents, their commitment, patience, and sacrifice, with the healthy, evolved mindsets we carry today. Mutual respect, emotional intelligence, and genuine communication can coexist with independence and equality. That combination is where lasting love lives. Now drop your thoughts in the comments below. Which factor resonates most with you?